Welcome to the Rebuild Procurement Podcast, the number one procurement and for this week AI podcast in the world, where we dive deep into topics to keep procurement people up to date and ahead of their peers. On today's episode, Alan, going into AI, we're not doing it just like we've done before. We're going to give 4 in-depth examples of where to build and which platforms to use to make $1 million business of your own or to reduce that cost all by yourself. I'm Tom Finn, bringing 15 years on the client side, procurement, finance, and category management experience in large and small cap orgs.
And I'm Alan Veek, a procurement geek who lives on the sell side of the street, and I've assembled a team of superhuman procurement professionals doing managed services at a company that we call Summit.
So, Alan, I've been working a lot on, not working a lot, but looking into all these different AI tools. I'm trying to figure out, is 2025 the year of AI? And it feels like it, right? You're not going to have robots walking around on the streets and everything this year. There's been cool videos of them unloading groceries, but even then they're not so great. But I do think that the ability to up-level folks, like right now is the time where it's 2 things. One, you can up-level yourself incredibly, and we'll go through some of those things. And then the other side is maybe you're employed right now and you're interested in building your own software. It's really the time to do that and time to look in that if you haven't historically known how to code. So
Cool.
I think today we're going to dive into some of these things, and I'm interested to get some of your feedback.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what you've done, what you can do. I've not played with this as much as you have, but I've certainly heard all the talking heads, like Zuckerberg came out the other day from Meta and basically said the current state of AI allows a non-coder to be a mid-level engineer. So that sounds like where you are, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. I'm now mid when it comes to engineering. Yeah, and it comes in. There's still a lot of, what I'll say though, is there's still a lot of thought associated with it. And you get a much deeper respect for what a coder historically has had to do, which I have not totally had. You just figure sometimes like they throw on headphones, they start plugging away, but there is so much thought, so much error handling that's needed to happen. And we'll go through some of this, Alan. I think the first, just to level set, because I don't know if everyone is familiar. Everyone's heard of ChatGPT. You probably have that little box that pops in Google as opposed to just the blue links at the top. So I think everyone's kind of getting, I think a lot of our searching, like what we type in, is more specific than it historically has been. I think that's happening. But right now there's a few, right? Like Zuckerberg has his separate open source one, but all that stuff doesn't make sense when you're just jumping into things like what is open source, what's closed. But there's kind of 4 that people are using today. One that got a lot better over the past 2 weeks. I'll just go through these and I'll give a little pricing structure. I subscribe to 3 of them. So
we hope
haven't yet paid for one.
Listening.
Yeah, I know my wife. So because March has not come due, mid-March. So the one is ChatGPT. That's kind of the well-known, the OG at this point of what's happening within just within AI. So it's really good. It's free. When you pay the $20 per month, you get a little bit extra. This O1 model, I don't know, maybe it's gone to you kind of get like the pre-release when you pay the $20 per month. And then they have the $200 per month, which you can like start coding much more. Yeah, people were saying, is it good relative to the others? You get a lot more kind of juice for it. So if you're one of those really good coders, Alan, yeah, or like a mid-level coder that really wants to up-level yourself, I've heard it could be worth it. You get a lot more compute, which means you can do a lot more difficult stuff. So when you get better, your questions get harder and things get more difficult. So that $200 per month plan supposedly is pretty decent. None of us are going to be using that. I might actually go down to, I'm thinking about getting rid of ChatGPT because these other ones are quite good. The second one I'll say is Gemini, which is Google's. So you have OpenAI's, which is ChatGPT. You have Gemini, which is also free, but you get more stuff. Specifically, this deep research, which ChatGPT now has, which you can go like super deep. You think some of the like a more basic version of some of those research reports you would buy for 5, 10K historically, to the extent it could just be searched online. Deepseek, or not Deepseek, but these other ones, these deep research gives it. Um, so, but it's gotten much better, pretty decent at coding. Folks have said that Gemini is also very good for those who've used like OCR, like to read docs. Gemini is supposedly very good at improving that as well. Third one I'm going to say is Claude, which is amazing when it comes to coding. It's amazing.
Wow.
When folks are talking about that mid-level engineer, that's Claude. I would lean into when Zuck's talking about it, like Claude 3.7, which is one they just released. All these like naming structures kind of, as they get higher, they're better.
Confusing.
Yeah. OpenAI is a little different.
And this Claude comes from Anthropic, who
Anthropic.
is a couple of the founders come from OpenAI, I think, right?
Yeah, I think they come from OpenAI. I believe one of them. I'm not sure if it was Anthropic or not, but they were like big fans of Google, and yeah, they may have come from OpenAI. But theirs is also like OpenAI set this pricing structure with $20, so everyone's is $20, but most are free to begin with. So Cursor's, or not Cursor, but Claude's by Anthropic is $20.
Yep.
And then the last one I'm going to say here, I mean, we can add in the DeepSeek one at the end, but is Grok, which is Elon's. So part of XAI, right? Formerly Twitter. Now, when you're on the app, Grok is there too. They released Grok 3 about a week and a half ago, and it's now at the same level, in my opinion, for what I use it for as ChatGPT. So I already pay $8 a month. You get like a little blue check, all that kind of stuff. I think less ads, maybe, but you now get Grok 2, which was not good before and has turned good over the past week and a half. So those are the four I have, and then the last one we talked about it a few episodes ago, just Deepseek. That's like a free version.
Right.
Yeah, what they've done is out of some folks out of China. They have an app too, but there's also like a base level one that you could use on your computer, which is just locally. Which the interesting thing about that is like it doesn't send it out to OpenAI's, their database, their servers, or Google's. You could do it on your own computer or like run separately in your own little world. So folks are excited about that. Nothing anyone here needs to worry about, but that's essentially Deepseek. Have you used any of these, Alan? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I've used all of them from time to time, except for Deepseek. I haven't played with Deepseek. That's open source. You got to download it, put it on your machine.
Yeah, I had to figure it out. I used, I think, ChatGPT to help me with that too.
Yeah, you're hardcore. You did that. I've set up a Bitcoin node on my home computer before, but I've never done Deepseek. But yeah, I've used all of them. I tend to go primary with Google. I think I'm paying something for Google Advance, not paying on any of the other services. And then maybe the other one to mention that is a distant fifth or sixth or seventh is Meta's Llama.
Yeah.
So that I wore the glasses a couple weeks ago. I use it on the glasses. It's pretty terrible. It can't answer basic questions. It's like operating at the level of a first grader or something.
Yeah. So Llama, they actually like basically that's like the super base level things. And then what they do is they build on top of it and they give like parameters. They kind of teach it a little more. That's what OpenAI does. But DeepSeek specifically, I think what they did is use that Llama as their core LLM, like their base, call it like base code. And then they made it good through a lot of their whatever they did to make it good. And then out popped like a version of OpenAI's mid tier now, but was top tier O1. So yeah, they all build on top of one another.
Grok's supposed to be up there. I think it. You mentioned how good the latest version, Grok 3, right?
Yeah, Grok 3
is, and that was built on this new data center where it's a great story behind how they basically bought a bunch of NVIDIA chips, got a hold of them, strung them all together in an abandoned warehouse, and had to figure out power sources and everything, and kind of got it stood up in 6 weeks or something, 8 weeks, and then powered this new model. It's like moonshot.
Yeah, Jensen, the OpenAI or NVIDIA's CEO and I believe founder, he was just like, talking about how amazing Elon is. Like the only guy that could do that is him. They also spent a lot of money with NVIDIA. So worth the kudos. Bought the kudos there, I'm sure, but also really acted on it. So yeah, they built a whole giant data center in order to, or build it to run that. So yeah, that was a pretty cool story. So Alan, the next place we're going to go here is, okay, you have these call it models, these things you pay $20 per month for, but folks are building stuff with it, right? There's like, on Twitter, maybe on LinkedIn. I don't know if people talk about anything AI related on LinkedIn outside of resume building, but just all over the place, folks are creating stuff, like software is getting disrupted, but I don't see it. I don't see this stuff in my world. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you things I've done, and then we can go through a little bit what
a little show and tell.
Yeah, a little bit of how I got there. But the first one, let's see if some of these things have run. So let me share my screen. So head to YouTube if you want to see some of this stuff. All right.
Yeah,
so
I'm jealous that you're building stuff. I love hands-on. I love DIY, and I'm jealous that you've actually gone out and done this. This is really some initiative.
This is crazy, and it'll turn into something, right? There's one that I wanted to get, but I couldn't get it to run. This one I may actually end up turning into a product, but these are versions of it, right? So what is this? I saw something on Twitter, and this guy was talking. I'm just kind of going to share things that I was thinking about building and turning into an app. But I think it's just even more important to educate with it. So it was a CFO. He was talking about, like, what's weird? We have all this stuff going on, and I can't even really compare to see if like I'm paying the right payment terms on time. Like I can't do these like invoice analysis. So I went in and I built something to do that. So essentially what I did, and I can go through and walk through how this chat works. So what am I on right now? I'm on Replit. The guy that started Replit, he started this like 10 years ago. What he wanted to do was build an online first coding platform where something that's really difficult for people, even engineers, to do is, all right, you've typed something out, you've done all your code. Now, how do I get it online so people can access it? So he built this whole in-browser coding experience, and he's since added AI. All right. I'm going to share the window. All right.
Wah, wah, wah.
Can you see this now? You see Replit?
We got it.
All right. Yep. So anyway, that's the intro anyway. So this guy built this whole in-app experience or browser experience. You could deploy right from here. So I could just turn this into like a website and deploy that out. So like I was saying, I read this on Twitter or on X and just thought, all right, let me see if I could build that in Replit through coding myself, right, with an agent. And essentially what you could do here, Alan, we'll see if these work. If they don't work, it's not because of so just like take these like a contract. This is like a very simple one that I just used on like I had ChatGPT make it, right? So it goes through, it sends information out to OpenAI. So I have it all linked up to OpenAI. And this was just like one document processing. But again, I also did like a contract summary generator. So what it did here, it did like a overall assessment. It did a review of it, like the payment terms, talked about this $50,000, like $25K up front, $25K upon delivery. It pulled out the invoice terms. It did some risk analysis, right? There was a 5% penalty for delayed payments, blah, blah, blah. And then like some critical issues, right? Ambiguous language. So this is all, what this did is it took what I had, it took the little document that I sent. Again, this is a basic contract. And then it sent it out to OpenAI to review it, to then pull back in this analysis and information. And then you see it like green, reds, and yellows for like good, bad, like just watch out. So essentially this is a completely functional app for those that want to either generate a contract summary, just do a review. So if finance wanted to do a review of contracts, they could just use this to quickly see and understand what the contract is doing and saying. I have a comparison here, and then also invoice to contract analysis.
Mm-hmm.
All coded by me, right?
Wow.
So, or coded with me, I should say.
And how did you describe to me how you coded it? You asked it to do certain things?
Yeah. So let's go. Let me stop sharing for a sec. Well, for simple purposes of this one, we'll just do like bid contracts, right? Build me a software to bid contracts. So what the first thing I've recognized is a good way to go about this is go into ChatGPT or Grok or Gemini, whichever one you prefer, and then have it write a prompt for you.
Oh,
So
cool.
the important thing for all this stuff is to write prompts. So it's going to be pretty complicated, right? Like,
yeah.
For a simple version of this, to share with an AI agent to code it.
Yeah. So you're doing this on another screen.
Ah, man, oh man, Alan. I don't have to.
It's okay. But this is just the prompt. You're just You're asking another AI to generate another LLM to generate a prompt for you that you're going to plug into.
Exactly. All right, we're just gonna we're sharing window. We're just gonna roll the dice here.
Share the whole screen.
Is that entire screen? Yeah, I was about ready to.
Yeah.
All right, sharing screen because we're gonna float between here.
Cool.
All right.
So now it's written your prompt for you.
Yeah. So I just wrote like the prompt, or what I wrote to ChatGPT was, "Can you build me a software to bid contracts?" Right. And I was going to say, write me a prompt for a simple version of this to share with an AI agent to code. Right. So it's going to write out the tech stack, blah, blah, blah.
It's awesome.
No. So this is going to be long. And what I've noticed in Replit is when it's too many characters, it
won't take it.
Well, it takes it, but it pastes it as a picture. So you have to make the first prompt short, and then you can copy and paste the second one to.
I like it. It's just conversational. You tell it, okay, that was good, but make it shorter.
Yeah.
It looks like it still makes it a bit.
This
long.
may be sufficient. We'll see.
Okay.
It's still, this is a little long. So let's go back to.
Try it. Replit.
Yep. All right, good. I pasted it in. And then additionally, I'm just going to get this bigger one. And from there, so this one people have to kind of go to YouTube to see. But I think it's still valuable to listen to this. So essentially what I did is I pasted in the prompt that I got from ChatGPT into Replit. And I used to have also like make my prompt better. I'm not sure why it's not there, but and then I pasted the longer one and pasted as a picture for it. So from there it goes through, and there's going to be buggy. There's always you always have to refine these prompts, but it'll go through. It'll ask you, all right. It'll ask you a question back here. So it kind of said, all right, understand. It's actually changed since yesterday, but it kind of proposed the app that it understands and wants you to build. So a professional RFP bidding platform where clients can create RFPs, suppliers can submit bids, and then like features role-based, RFP management, blah, blah, blah. And it breaks out the different features that they think they'll add in, and you just click start building. So what it does is it then just goes through and it starts coding. And what there is a lot of there's a lot of testing that you need to do. So you really become a tester of these and kind of a refiner versus the one doing like the hard code. So you'll see here, it starts just coding for you, right?
It's going. Yeah.
So it's just going like shared /schema whatever ts.ts, like builds up the storage, and it just goes through.
I see exactly what it's doing. I see.
Yeah.
Oh, that right. Yeah. Yeah. No.
You understand, right? You understand. So it's just like code being thrown at the screen.
Impressive. Yes.
So, and then you have like your keys, and these are things where it's like you'll learn over time. But it's like, how do I get an OpenAI key? how do I get a Google Drive key, right? These different keys and
You do it the
APIs that
first
you
time
need.
and it's hard, and the second time it's a bit easier, and
Gets a
then it
little bit
just becomes
better, and then
remotely
you did
something
it on
else.
OpenAI, so it's probably in a similar spot on Google, but it is totally different. So then you ask, ChatGPT or Gemini where to find it. So
Yep.
this is so this is just essentially how it goes, and you end up being the one to build it out, to test it. Something doesn't work, you give it the feedback that it didn't work, and then you go through it and just kind of continue to elaborate on it.
Yeah.
So
And
that
so it's generated hundreds and hundreds of lines of code here, right? And it's
yeah
doing different modules or something. It's
gigs
doing,
like lots
yeah.
of megabytes of codes for sure of code for sure.
Wow.
It's doing all the back end, and you can see over here like what it started building already.
Did you ever take a coding class, Tom?
No, never.
I took
Well, let me
just
take
very
that back. I've done those Udemy courses.
Yeah. I did a Coursera course,
Did you ever get done it,
and
Alan? Did you finish it?
no,
Yeah, neither did
I
I.
was very close to finishing it, but I overscoped things, so I went back to the beginning again because I needed to relearn again, and it was it all makes logical sense, but you actually just realize the act of writing this code is really complicated. You all the syntax matters, all of the little words, the little punctuation marks, the way that you structure it matters, and it's so hard to get it wrong. It's hard to think like a computer.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
look, just
boy,
like
the
these
fact that it
import
does this in
stuff,
a few minutes,
like these
it's
things you
crazy.
used to have to type. You used to have to know and then
Yeah,
type, like just the
just
route,
crazy.
path, login, blah 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 blah. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, ChatGPT has like most of us, almost all of us, use it in the just the English language that we send it out and then we
Yep.
receive it back. But there's like you can check your code like on GitHub, which is like where people save their code, and you can kind of work within it and like share it from one computer to another. It's kind of like a Google Drive for code. Um, like now when you're on there, you can link it up to a Replit or another one I'm going to talk about, Cursor, to just like work on it from different places, and then do
Yeah.
all of this. Just have it support you, and in my case, have it do it for you.
Now, let me just ask you a basic question because Replit obviously is not in the set of large language models that we talked about at the very beginning. You used one of the large language models, ChatGPT, to generate the prompt. We're using Replit to generate the code. Can ChatGPT just generate the code for you?
It can, yes. So what
But there's a
Replit
reason
uses
you
in the
want to use
background,
Replit.
it uses Claude.
Okay, got
Um,
it.
so you can. Let's do something very simple here. Let's just see if it even gets in. Look at this, Alan. We're not gonna go take this any
We got a
further,
site.
but
Yeah,
like just for example, like the
nice.
simplicity of this, and you can build on it. If you look at my screen, if you can check out on
Yeah,
YouTube, it built this RFP
you better
platform.
trademark that name, RFP platform. That's a pretty good name.
Yeah, very
Pretty good
simplistic.
name
It's a
for a
very good
company.
namer.
I love it.
Um,
Yeah.
and then like it just says supplier dashboard, and then available RFPs, your bids, and then what you
Yep.
would do is like you would just add next steps, um,
Yeah.
and then it can continue going. It just asked me, is the login page loading correctly? And then I logged in,
Hmm.
checked it out. I would say just like yes, continue, and then it would continue
Very
along this
cool.
little path. And the good thing that we did, we gave it a very clear upfront prompt, so it can work through that prompt. If you just type, "Hey, build me an RFP software," it'll do all the work that ChatGPT did. Probably get some of it wrong. So you really want to give it a great prompt up front. That matters.
Yeah. Yeah, that the prompt that ChatGPT generated was not insignificant. Like in the longer form version of it, it was a what do they call it that product managers build? It was a
Your
product
product roadmap
specification
kind of thing.
document.
It really did
Yeah,
roadmap it out.
it was pretty slick.
Yeah.
Okay, so I might take some inspiration from this, Tom, and really sit down and think about the question you asked me, which is, what do I want to have? What app would I want to build? What do I want to have done? And I may take some homework away and see if I can't actually build something and come back and show you my homework next week.
Yeah.
The dog, I warn you, the dog may have eaten my homework already.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm going to aspire to come up with something stupid and simple, but I would love to try and build it.
Yeah. So there's the like the way that it works from a pricing standpoint, you pay $20 to Replit, and then it uses a credit each time. So every time it stops and saves, it's 25 cents. You could run up $50 easy on this platform by getting excited. So
And
it's just being
and
mindful.
okay, that's good. And what Replit does that's different from, as you said, Claude is behind Replit, but what Replit
Exactly.
does is it adds the interface to build a web page out of it.
Yep. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
It kind of it just maneuvers around Claude. It kind of speaks to Claude in the background,
Yes.
probably differently than we
Yep.
would, and it generates the code, and then also at the same time
Compiles
puts
it.
it in proper the filing system. It does all the filing system, puts it in the right spot. Whereas Claude might say, "Hey, put it in a
Use this code.
create this file, and then put it over here." Replit does it for you. So it's kind of like imagine if it was just on your desktop and it was doing all that for you, creating folders, putting the
Right.
code there, and then being able to run it.
Yeah. The very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to Google what is free Replit, and then they'll say, "Oh, well, there's this new app that's available you can use for free."
Yeah, I think there's ones. I don't know if you pay. I've heard haven't used them. Like VO is one. Yeah. So what the really the amazing thing for me that Replit showed me is you can get 60 to 70% there just
Yeah.
by asking the proper question. Right? That last 30, it ain't easy. I'll be
Is
honest, it ain't easy. But that
Yep.
first 70, unbelievable how quickly you can get there.
Mm-hmm. And that's
So
where if that's where the smart human, we've always talked about the smart human mattering. So that's why you can get to mid-level coding with no coding experience. But if you've got some decent coding experience, you get a website in 5 minutes, and
yeah,
then you can climb that last 30% of the hill with your own coding skill and put in the bells and whistles and really make it
I
work.
would say you don't even need your own coding skill for the last 30. You just need time, focus, testing,
Okay.
effort, and you can get there
It's
still
iterations.
without knowing code at all.
Yeah.
But
Got it.
and what happens, Alan? What's happened for me is you learn, right? You kind
Right.
of watch it
Yeah.
happen,
Always.
and you learn, you recognize. Like Replit kind of does a lot for you. It's kind of more like that magical trick, like how'd that happen? But you just keep prompting away. One I'll get to in a few that I'll probably go through a little more quickly is Cursor, and Cursor is like the real deal. Like things that it's what all the coders use, but now it uses this Claude 3.7 that can do much prettier websites for you. And I'll show you
Oh,
an example when we get to that
cool.
one though, Alan. When we get there, because I have two ahead of it that I just want to
Tease.
walk you through.
Okay.
All right. So have you, Alan? You may have used this one because you're a Google guy. You love the Google. Have you used Notebook LM?
No.
Alan, I just started using this over the past week. Awesome. You're a notes
You
guy,
got there so much faster
right?
than me.
Huh?
Yes, I'm a notes
Yeah,
guy.
you love
I'm a
notes.
notes guy.
How's your search been on notes? Like when you go back, is it easy? Let me just ask you that. Is it easy, Alan?
Well, I've tried to make it a little bit easier with a very complex homegrown tagging system that works for me. That's a continuously improving tagging system. But let me answer for the sake of being the straight guy. It could be better, Tom.
It could be better, right? So notebook.
Always.
So I've got an answer for you then, Alan. It's going to be this notebook LM, and it's not going to
Okay.
be the perfect answer, but it shows you that in the future, this is how life should be. So let me log in first.
You want to share screen? Can
I
we look? Can we
will. Let me
watch?
log in first. Let me log in first, Alan. Let me load my notebooks. I just did a very simple one. This is I already kind of prepped this one. But just to explain, because you're also not only are you a notes guy, you're a guy that had to do a dissertation and work through a lot of research, right?
Indeed.
You would have loved Notebook LM. Now let me share. This would have been for every doctor. I'm sure there's many of you of the one that's listening. That's also talking to me. You would have loved this.
Yeah,
You would
you
have
should have
loved this
seen
during those
you should
times.
have seen the yeah, you should have seen the process I used to create my thesis.
Oh my
Woo,
gosh,
it was
not
nasty.
interested in.
Nasty.
So let me see where my notebook. Okay, so what this is, Alan, It's essentially you can upload, I think, like 100, probably thousands for just to this Notebook LM. It's essentially it's through Google, notebooklm.google.com, and you can upload many. I did it with my notes. I had some really ridiculous notes that I was just maintaining in like a Word doc. It was in a Google Doc, but you can upload Word, PDF. I think it's let me see here. This little sharing thing, like add source here. Can you see my screen now,
Right.
Alan?
Yep, I can.
So they have
You got
like
links, you got text.
yeah, you can
anything from
copy
Drive.
text. This actually wasn't showing up yesterday
That's
when I was
cool.
preparing, but I could say you could have 300 sources. You can copy and paste text in. You can add YouTube videos, websites, Google Slides, Google Docs, all these things.
Yep.
I mean, imagine the YouTube aspect of it, right? I just uploaded a
Yes.
PDF, copywriting and social media, and you could just ask questions of the article, right? What are the best ways? But imagine doing this within a YouTube series, like a bunch of copy pasted text in, like referencing a link that you might have to PDFs or something like that.
Yes. Well, I'm thinking, I've got some books I can upload in there.
Sure, if you have the
I'm sure there's some
PDFs.
copyright issues, but yeah, big long PDFs that you want to query.
Yeah. So what I did, I tried to do this before with my notes in ChatGPT, unsuccessful. It like came back. It really wasn't like good or helpful. It kind of said there was like these missing gaps. But when I did it with my notes, it was like it gave everything it could. Then it was like, if you have more questions about this, ask John Smith, right? Because that's your guy that you've referenced a bunch of times. That's kind of how it reasoned to it. So for this, ran it with just this, again, this copywriting social media PDF. I asked for a research paper. It was like one that popped up. So like understand platforms, blah, blah, blah. But what it does, it just goes through the research paper and it tells me how to do the copywriting per that research paper. Also, very cool thing is when you sign up, it notes that it does not train on what you upload. So a lot of the criticisms of like a ChatGPT is they just take whatever you send and it ingests it to use later. Yeah. This Google Notebook LLM does not.
So it's trained on other data. It reads this and uses this as some source material.
Well said.
But the training comes elsewhere. Yep.
Exactly.
Cool.
Use it today for anybody. If you have like a bunch of notes, especially if it's in like a Word doc or something, maybe like a Excel. I don't know if it could do Excel or not, but just try it out. Like PowerPoint. A YouTube video series. Mm-hmm. Crazy. Like, what a way to learn. Cool. What a way to learn. Cool. So that's Notebook LM. Started using that over the past few days. And I think is useful for anybody today. It's kind of to Google search on things you want to know or things you already have. Yep. They want to dissect a little further.
I'm in a book club, and we're reading two documents, one book, one document, a PDF document that's from like 1948. And I'm going to load it in and I'm going to ask questions of it and see if it can make me smart about the document even before I read it, or if maybe I don't even have to read it at all.
Yeah,
Give me a summary. Tell me what's in here.
Yeah, I mean,
turn it into a tweet, turn it into a blog post, turn it into a course.
Sure, all that stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, total game changer. This Notebook LM. There's also, people may have heard this happen, but you could also have it do a podcast. You could have it do a podcast format for you. On the right hand side, there was a generate button, and it'll do like a talk, like a back and forth, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So it kind of teaches you that book or whatever it is in a talking format.
Engaging, entertaining format. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So, all right, that's number 2. We have 2 more here, Alan, as the countdown continues. So the next one goes into So what were you talking about before, Alan? What were you interested in? You were interested in like the top 18, top 20, and then have it go to an Excel spreadsheet.
Bingo. Yes. It's called the Alt 18.
Okay. And then what would you generally, like, what is a process that one may follow for those type things? And I may not answer this perfectly, but people will be able to use it as a reference point.
Yeah. So typically what I do is you find somebody who has the source. I've got a guy on Reddit who has the source of the top 18. And then what I'd love for it to do is to take that top 18, build a YouTube playlist out of it in the correct order, and then basically change the title of the playlist for the week that it is.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if that's something that's easy to do or not easy to do.
Probably not easy to do, but
Yeah,
should be at some point. And
should be.
let me now share again, and
I'm
I'll
the
walk you.
knucklehead who puts it all together, and it's first grader sort of. I could teach a first grader to do it.
So this is eventually AI will be our first grader to do it. So this one that I just picked up, they have so what this one's called is N8N. I think it's N8N.io. So have you ever heard of Zapier, Alan? Have you ever used Zapier?
Yes.
Okay. So this is Zapier-esque. It's just with like AI into it. So right now the big
This is like robotic process automation is what this looks like. You connect different you do the plumbing between different apps and
exactly.
draw information from apps and put it together.
Yeah. And then
this might work. This is kind of cool.
Yeah. So what this does differently is not different. I mean, it's very much the same as Zapier may have this too right now, but they've added in the ability to link in AI. AI, just think the ChatGPTs, right? Like the feedback and the review and all these other things like we were showing in the other ones. So there's different nodes that you can add in. So in this case, I picked this one because it was like, for me, these things are still impossible to build. You have to to find all of your API keys is freaking the most exhausting piece about a lot of this process.
Who's going to make the API key thing easier? Because that should just be easier. Like it should come to you and it should say, share your login to this service.
Now, it's shocking to me how difficult it is to find Google's every single time. I think for those that use it all the time, it's probably becomes easy, but to get up to speed, it is god awful.
Of course.
So this is also another one where you have to pay. I just got like the 14-day free trial because I was testing it out because we were talking about this. But essentially, it just walks through, right? Like you said, it's process automation where like you do a form submittal, and in this case, just think about it doing like AI generate or AI content generation. So people would use this, right? Where you maybe put in like an idea into a form, and then it sends it into an AI agent that splits it out. It goes into the Gemini model. It structures it a little bit differently, parses it out, then aggregates it, makes an image, and then I was trying to add it to Google Docs as opposed to like sending it out just to test it out. But then it could send it to X, publish to LinkedIn, to Facebook, all based upon just that one prompt of write me something interesting about procurement, right? So it's pretty wild because like for Zapier, the historical Zapier, the cool thing was you could just connect it, right? If I receive an email, I could then add the title to a Google Doc, right? Kind of one thing happens, then another happens. This can add generation. And this is kind of what people, when they talk about AI agents, right? Where it's, I would like to go to Cancun these dates. And then from there, it can send that to the AI agent. You can search a kayak, theoretically. And then also, okay, if it's under this price, then book that ticket. And then it could book the ticket. That's kind of that 1, 2, 3 step where it's a little bit smarter and it interconnects a lot of different places that might make it a better outcome of your question. In that case, you asked about a vacation and it actually booked you the ticket.
It's interesting as you talk about this, it reminds me that a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, the people who were talking about the LLMs and what was going to make LLMs truly take over the world, I shouldn't use that term. What will make LLMs truly useful for us as people is they have to be, there were like 3 or 4 P's. The first P was they have to be personal. So it has to be acting on my behalf. It has to be private. So I have to give it a sense that when I give it a credit card number, it's going to remember the credit card number for my good and not use it for any evil. But it's like it needs to become my personal agent that I can feed stuff into, and it remembers it, so it can log into websites just like I would log into a website. It could and then I guess grab API keys. The API key feels to me like an assembly language level thing. You don't want to know that that's going on. You want to give it a user ID and a password and have it log in just like it's you. But it feels like we haven't gotten the LLMs are still, OpenAI is going the wrong direction. They are making these so that they are not personal, so that everything is owned by OpenAI in a a for-profit manner. So it feels like the same mistakes that we may have made when we were building the first generation of big Facebooks and Twitters and these big platforms, these big social media platforms that were not personalized. We didn't own our own data; they owned our data. If they own our data, then we're not the customer. We're the product. It
Mhm.
feels like the same thing. That same battle's happening with LLMs, and I don't know who's out there trying to change that game.
Well, I think that's why Deepseek got such attention, right? Because Deepseek, were for this more for folks that could do it on their own. But if folks can create their own agents or their own, let's
Mm-hmm.
just say their own ChatGPT on their computer, from there
Right.
they might be able to link in and do all that stuff without everything being shared. It just looks like Tom or Alan going to Kayak and logging in because I let
Yes.
my computer
Yes.
know my passwords like I do
Yes.
wherever I would save it, right? If there's like, especially if there's
Yep.
like a lockdown one password or something that kind of handles
Exactly.
APIs that let's just say llama, maybe it's just a little less you know a little, but llama or Deepseek or
Sure.
whatever, right? Just one of these that sits on your computer that has your Gmail and all these other things that could link in. Because one
Yeah.
super interesting thing is that like not everything, but a lot of things I might just link in with or log in with my Google account or Yahoo or Twitter account or Amazon account. There's a lot of these like cross platform uses that
Yep.
it could be an opportunity when an LLM can like read a website, right? And like go on there and like understand the contents.
Yep.
Because it's all structured data. Like if you go on Kayak, like the stars are in a spot, right? And the fact that they go
Mm-hmm.
up to like 4.5 means something. So
Yes.
it's all structured data. Probably more structured than most of the world, right? To be able to meander the internet. So
Yep.
all right, so
All right.
that's one. Now the final one, Alan, which I'm not even going to go into Cursor because Cursor is a more complicated version of what I showed on Replit, but I just want to show like the output and what things can look like. And then folks
Cool.
can DM me at Cost Cut Pro if they want, or we can do a follow-up episode. But let me just show you. I'll preface this. Like one of my buddies, he decided he's going to start doing, with the whole like folks are retiring, they want to sell businesses. He wanted to start owning like some businesses and investing with some other folks. He also is doing like a little bit of his own like lending, things of that nature. And I was like, what would be interesting to you to build, right? Or to have that you haven't found the right platform for? And he's like, when I give loans, it's actually tough to track. I was like, there has to be something. He's like, well, no, like for payments via, like I just want something like I could do via Plaid, which is kind of like an API that you log in that you can connect your bank account to stuff. Like where I could just like
Yep.
I could connect mine, they could connect theirs, and they could pay me, and there's no like transaction fee essentially. So I was like,
Yep.
okay, interesting. So let me try. Um, so I don't know which one's going to share here. Let me go on my screen. So this is that platform, and this is from the lender side, Alan. So look at this. When you look at this,
So it's a little schnazzier. Yep.
yeah, what do you see though? Like you
Yeah.
see,
Data.
yeah, I mean, there's like a layout on the
Mhm.
side, on the left hand side, like super
Yep.
nice. Some of
Yep.
these things will probably break, Alan, but there's like these are all fake data. So there's a
Yep.
dashboard. He has his loan portfolio. He can create a
Yep.
loan for someone new, and he can connect it in uh, with the borrowers, right? They can log up, and
Mm-hmm.
you can have this all. This all could be better
Very cool.
connected. This is a very early thing, and then like require Plaid connection, enable auto payments, create a loan. Oops, and then like manage your loans. See, that doesn't work. Payment history doesn't
Whole
work,
thing's broken. Yep.
but
Yep.
that's what it is, right? But there's
Hmm.
on the borrower side, they can connect their Plaid account. Um, And it's just something where like these things could all be built. I didn't code this. It took me a while still to go through it. I won't lie. Like I played around with it on like last week and then over the weekend, but it still gets there, right? This is something I'm doing on the side just to play around with it, but it like creates the dashboards for you. It like understands like the good prompts to build something out. But that is a professional looking software that with some tweaks would be paid for.
Yeah, for sure. Was paid for in the 2000s.
Yeah,
that
and
sort of a
still
thing.
is. People still need this stuff.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
the way I view this, Alan, and I sent a tweet out about this. So call it back in like the 90s, right? Like pre Ted Turner doing his CNN, like it was NBC, ABC, like all these folks. I guess Ted Turner was a little earlier, but then cable came out and they said, all right, you guys used to get all those ad dollars. You used to get all those eyeballs. Also the newspaper used to get all those eyeballs very concentrated, and then therefore advertising went that way. And then over time, the cable networks opened up. So you went from 3 channels to like 10 channels. And now how many channel 3s do you have? There's like 4 versions of that. And then there's, also you have your TNTs and HBO, and you have your streaming services, and everybody's making money still. So what do you have today on the corporate side for software? Is you have just think of the procurement
Salesforce.
ones. You have SAP.
Yep. You got Coupas, Arebas.
Yeah, Ariba, Coupa. Like you have your CRM, which is Salesforce, maybe another 3. In the future, those are going to be cabled. We should term this. They're all going to be cabled, because what's going to happen is it's going to go from, you have this central, just think Salesforce or SAP is your Walter Cronkite. And in the future, you're also going to have a bunch of folks on CNN running 24 hours that are created by folks like you and I that have not coded before, that could totally do it if they want to. And these are also the softwares you guys are going to be able to buy in the future for a lesser dollar amount, because you're just going to be paying. These softwares will be coded pretty simply by 1 to 3 people, maybe 10, could be 100, because of salespeople. But from there is the cost of that plus the cost of hosting, and that's a software cost, right?
That's
like
it.
It's not not much more. It's going to be explaining the product and running the product.
Yeah, so that's interesting. That is the procurement angle. For all of you who are struggling with SaaS software costs and fees, I think I shared it before. I talked to the chief procurement officer, the CPO of a major U.S. bank, and he was lamenting the fact that there was margin transfer. He termed it margin transfer that happened from the bank to the SaaS businesses over the last 20 years. He said, we have lost our margins and they've gained them all. Their prices keep going up. We can't extract ourselves from these SaaS software tools because they're integral to our business. And he said, I've got to figure out a way to battle back and get that margin back into the bank.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. Expect there also, though, to be more softwares you have to deal with. Because if you break apart a Salesforce, it becomes much more like the breaking apart goes from 1 contract to 10.
The cabling.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Now you have CNN and I don't know, ESPN and whatever else, right?
Yes.
I can see on the back end them getting consolidated again, though, Alan. This always seems to.
Of course.
I think you and I have seen it over the course of time.
Sine curve.
Yeah, you have big companies making a bunch of money get broken apart by small companies. Then there's small companies get bought up or consolidated, big companies, and then people get upset again. They go down, So that happens, but we'll definitely be in the breakup phase.
Yeah, and I think that's I like thinking about that, because it's also the perennial question of, if I'm running a procurement team and I need software technology to enable me to do that, do I want to get one ring to rule them all? Do I want to get one platform that does everything but likely does it in a mediocre way? Or do I want to buy best of breed and buy 10 platforms that each do something the best that they possibly can, but now they're not integrated. Now they don't share data.
And we're paying money to maintain them internally, and whatever, you have to make sure those, if they're connected via API, you got to, again, connect and maintain those. So there's additional costs.
It does feel like that's the answer here, is that if we could have APIs or better connectors, better middleware that allows all the platforms to talk, you don't care how many platforms you have. It looks like one platform.
Yeah,
you got one
that's
dashboard.
the thing. That's the thing. If like a few companies could be working together, say they all get really good and they can somehow work together, and maybe eventually they eat each other and they become one too. But I think that will happen over the next 3 years. I'll call it. These will be broken apart, and it'll be surprising.
Well, Tom, that was an awesome overview My brain is full. I need to be excused. This is that was a really cool
Good.
overview of some tools, and you over delivered. I thought we were going to just look at one thing.
Oh, there's
But
so
instead we
many,
looked at
Alan. We'll could
3,
do a
4
follow up
things.
of some other ones as they come out. But yeah, I think that just the takeaway though, Alan, just to give folks is there's like there's going to be, again, to your point, Alan, there's this margin transfer, this breaking up that you should be able to speak to of why that's happening. It's happening for all the things we talked about here. Everyone can see how you could build it and how simple it is. And these will be platform ready, single sign on type things that can jump into your ecosystem. But the other is start building it yourself too, right? Why not? Why just be the one to watch? Like, get out there, do. You might not sell it, but just understand. Like, it's worth the $20, it's worth $100, it's worth $1,000. It's worth paying money now
to learn it.
To learn it and if you know how to do these, you are way, way ahead of your peers, and people will be interested in hearing about it.
Yeah, it's a cheap education.
So cheap.
Well, that's wonderful.
So,
well, on behalf of your humble hosts here at Rebuild Procurement Podcast, we are Tom Finn, the coding king, and the beard of procurement. Yes, the beard continues. I'm Alan Veek,
good.
Hoping you will make this a powerful and productive week in procurement. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for joining us on the Rebuild Procurement Podcast. Like and subscribe on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts to stay up to date on the latest procurement content.
Show me, and you won't hear the word rebuild.